Hey everybody, it's Mike with Monkey Fab. It's getting late, man. Check this out. That's what happens. My camera's always in the house, and you're always wondering why I'm always walking into my shop saying, "Hey, this is Mike with Monkey Fab." Just because I figure since I'm on the way, I might as well do something. Might as well make myself useful. So we got the Phoenix here, and the fan's going. It's really loud. So here is the engine bay of the Phoenix, and we're 90% ish kind of there. I have a leak on my power steering line, and I've already talked about that. I think the other problem I was having was the computer, the ECU. So I threw the gold box in there, and the tune that it came with was working fine. It was a little bit on the rich side, and that's not. So first, let me say what a great package the MS3 gold box is that the Mopar Mike on Facebook sells. I've been really happy with it. The installation was really easy, and I'm a moron when it comes to this stuff, and it wasn't that terribly bad. So and I know, like, I struggle with modern technology kind of stuff for the a little bit. I'm not like the best at it, and when I go to school, the kid we're doing the computer stuff. The kids are 3 or 4 steps ahead of me, and I'm struggling to keep up. So that's kind of like my own my weak point. So I knew that it was going to be kind of tough to get everything kind of worked out. And I kind of like say, like, Megasquirt's kind of like buying pot when you're in like a freshman in high school, where you have to like go to your friends cousins apartment complex, and he knows a guy that if you stand there and give him the money kind of thing. So like tracking down the info. So what I wish would happen was that there was a site, where it's like, this is a consolidated data point for this site, but it's kind of open source stuff. So stuff is kind of spread around a bit, and I don't really know there's like a definitive site. And I didn't want to call people up and bug too many people with my issues, because they're my issues and not their issues, and I didn't want to make my issues their issues. So with that said, I knew I had to make some adjustments, because what I ordered when I originally ordered the motor was, I just told the guy, Mike, to send me just send me a stock 58, and that's what I was planning on running. It was just naturally aspirated, L33 motor, and and then projects happen, and it got turboed, and we got the 88 decas in there, and I know the 88 decas were, obviously they're pulsing for like a 24 a pound injector, and it's doing that through the orifice of an 80 pounds, so obviously it's going to run rich. And I had to make some adjustments in the computer. So getting the computer hooked up to the ECU wasn't that difficult. You have to download a driver for your USB cable. Where I'm going with this is, these are the hangups I had with my initial go with MS3, and what I did kind of to work through these things, and maybe that helped somebody, because I was really wishing I could find some help. And I watched hours of videos, and I read a lot, and it's just, some of it can be a bit confusing. So if I can explain it here, I know that I'm basically dumb enough that if I can explain it to where maybe it makes sense to me, then hopefully it'll take care of 99% of you out there. So to get the computer talking to the ECU, just when you get your gold box, it comes with a little stick, an EFI source stick. I have one right here. Right now, and on this magic stick, it has all the stuff you're going to need, mostly, to get everything running. But there's directions in there, and if you open up your MS3 manual, and if you just like search maybe COM port, or connecting to the ECU or something like that, is basically going to tell you, like, hey dude, you need to install a driver, and here's a link, and it says not terribly bad. You click on the link, it'll take you to the website. It'll basically lay out, like, here's your computer, system, I think it was. So if you're running, like I'm on 64-bit Windows 7 on my laptop, just click on that one, downloaded it. It comes in a zip file. I threw it on the same drive, threw it on my laptop, and unzipped it, and then basically, so under control panel, there'll be a device manager. So you just go under device manager and you'll see a COM port just kind of there that's just out of the blue, and it'll be USB, and you'll just go click on it and update the drivers. And when you go to browse for the driver, you just select that file, and bam, that was working. And then the computer talked to the car, and that was good. And that's how you get the computer talking to the car. So check out the manual, get the link to the site, download the driver for the USB port, go into your control panel, open up the device manager, find the new USB, then just right click on that, and then install or update that driver, and that'll get you talking. So that was a little bit of frustration. That probably took 2 more hours than it probably should have for me. And then so then what happened was I was trying to load the file and work with the computer. We're in the Phoenix. The files are in the computer. They're in the computer. So I had a friend send me a file, and I figured that maybe that was a good starting point, since I told Mike that it was going to be a naturally aspirated, and I really wasn't sure. It was running really good, but it was rich, and I just really don't know what I'm doing. So I was able to load that file that he sent, but every time I go in there, so I was going in there and I was scaling the air fuel ratio table. And it was, getting settled down to, 14.0 air fuel ratio on the idle. It was super rich everywhere. That particular file, it had a bunch of stuff enabled that I wasn't really using, so it wasn't talking well with my computer. And I hit save as, and I don't know what would go on between that, shutting everything down, and then starting the car back up, and it would go directly to 1820 AFRs, which was just, it would barely run. If you touch the gas, it would just die. So, long story short, I couldn't get it working. I thought that if you're, working with stuff, then, the next step is make sure everything's up to date. So again, I searched the internets, and it took me to some site that's like a Megasquirt site, and I found a firmware for the ECU. I want to say it was 1.5.1 or something like that. It's the newest stuff that was out there, and I figured that out, downloaded that. I went into the Tuner Studio software, and through there I updated the driver, not really knowing what I was doing, and that basically corrupted everything. and nothing would work, because I guess it changed where the pins outputs were meshing up with what they actually do for the computer or the car, in the ECU, and what sensors it sees. So my tachometer was just pegged at 9 grand without the engine running, and it was just throwing this error code you can't start this. No worky. So so that was pretty frustrating, because I've been chasing this for probably a week or two now, and it just finally got to the point where I just broke down and asked, reached out to Mike, for help, and I sent him some screenshots and whatever, and he said just call me up and I'll walk you through it. So that was it's running great now. I mean, it fires up. I got the air fuel going on, but there was some stuff that he showed me when we walked through this that I wish I was recording when he was on the phone and I could just get step by step. But I figured I'd show you guys what he told me to do, and if you're having kind of like the same issue of, you know, getting everything going for the first time, then maybe this is, you know, the right steps to help you guys. And yeah, so let's see what happens. Let's give it a shot. I don't know about this holding the camera to watch the computer screen thing. This seems like a dumb idea. I'm not sure how it's going to look. They give you the magic stick, okay? What Mike wants you to do is he wants you to put that in your computer. Okay. And open it up. Simultaneously opening up your, where is that? How do I do this? There, just go to my documents. Sorry, I'm working on Windows 7 and Windows 10. It gets confusing. So basically, just copy everything over to your documents is the first step. So take the stick, copy everything, and you'll be good. Mind you, this is after you've gotten your computer to talk to your ECU. So you want to be sure you're doing that in your studio before anything else. I think this FTDI port was the thing that I used to update the COM port for communications. But like I said, you just yeah, this is some kind of driver, so I'm pretty sure that was it. But you just, like I said, follow the manual and go to that site and download whatever driver you need to push your stuff. So once that stuff was copied into my documents, now I went in and I updated the firmware and totally screwed it up. So you know, that was on me. Let's see, where did I put all this stuff? This is, so this is the firmware. So what you have to do is you have to close out of Tuner Studio completely and unhook yourself from your ECU. And you're going to go to this Win32 one, and you're just going to double click that. Alright, now what it's going to give you is this I'm sorry about this camera stuff. What that's going to give you is just this dialog box, and it's basically going to enter. You just press enter to continue, and you do a bunch of yeses. So you know, read what it is that you're trying to do, but just if you go all the way through that, it's basically going to write the firmware to your, okay, I'm sorry, so you have to actually be hooked up to the ECU and keyed on. So I don't want to, my firmware is already up to date, so I already did this. So you have to key on your ignition, make sure that your ECU is, you know, on, and then you're just going to double click this MS3 loader Win32 and this MS3 release 1.4.1, and that's going to update the firmware if it's not already updated to that. Now if you're already running that firmware, and I'll show you how to tell what firmware you're running. I'll shut off my fuel pump or it will be really loud. Okay, where's the key? So you open up your Tuner Studio, which mine is right, y'all. Key your shit on, and just open last project, and it'll tell you the firmware right here. So you'll see up here it says MS3 1. MS3 1. .1.4 release, okay? And that's going to tell you your firmware. So if you're already running that, then you're golden, and you're good. So at this point, once you've done that, if you need to, then your ECU is flashed with the firmware that apparently they like to use. So I'm just going to shut this down for right now. Turn my ignition off. Then what he told me to do was to open up my documents, and so from my documents, he wanted to go into Tuner Studio Projects. Okay. No, we didn't do this yet. Okay, so hold on. Sorry. Like I said, I wish I did it when he was on the phone, but I'm trying to remember everything we did, so while it's fresh in my mind, get it to you guys. Okay, so here it is, and you're going to go to create new project. All right, I'm not going to do this. Actually, yeah. No, I'm not going to do this because I'm not comfortable with what I'm doing just yet. The computer and everything's running, so I'm gonna forgo this. But trust me, this is what you need to do. You're gonna type in what you want to call your project. Name it, Bob's Car, and it's already gonna have it ready to go to your documents, the Tuner Studio Projects file. You'll click on detect for firmware, and you're just gonna let it run, and it's gonna pull up, it'll say like 2 devices found or whatever, and you just hit accept, and then you're gonna click on next. So let's just try to make one. We'll call it AAA. And I'll hit detect. I have to have my key on, so the ECU has to have power on, or it's not going to detect. Okay, so let's hit detect, and it will do what computers do. And it's found that's my serial port, USB to serial port driver, and there is the MS3. So I'm going to just hit accept, and we just hit next. Okay, and then all this shit, it looks really intimidating, like you're trying to figure out how to build something from scratch. Don't worry about that, just hit next. Okay, and then it's going to say your blah 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 blah. It doesn't matter, just hit next. And now it's going to give you a kind of your gauge layout stuff. I guess you pick your dashboard here if you want, and I don't know, pick out whatever dashboard you want. And anyway, hit finish, and what that does is it has created this project. Okay, so with that, now what you can do is you can just minimize that. You go into your Tuner Studio project. So this is in my libraries, documents, Tuner Studio projects, and what you're going to find is that project that you just created. Okay, so now what you're going to need to do is go back into your documents. So go back to my documents, and there is going to be a file called Goldbox MS3 release. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but it's one of these Goldbox things, I think. Yeah, so right here. So it just depends on what you have. For me, I have a 58 2.3 Lecter and turbo, so all you have to do is just right click on this and copy. Come on, copy. Okay, and we're going to go back to our project, and we're just going to paste it into this project. So paste. All right, Now, this is where I can't necessarily remember, but this is going to get us close, okay? So we can open up our Tuner Studio again now, and we're going to go File, and we're going to load tune. So it's going to take, we're in that file AAA, and I'm going to load this, the tune we just dropped in there. So that's going to say like, hey, here's the file, we're going to drop it in here, and I'm going to hit open. And it says, would you like to send and burn confirmation to your controller? I'm going to say no, because my car's running right now. Okay, but in theory you'd say yes, and that would send that program to the ECU. Now, what he told me to do is go File, Save Tune As, and he told me to call it like first start. START, and hit save. And then he told me to do it again and go to Save Tune As and call it second start. START. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's something about, I'm not sure, but he explained it quickly, and I was busy cracking jokes like usual and didn't really kind of catch it. But now we're hooked up, okay, and we got a tune in our car, and that's a good place. But what we got to do is we got to go to Tools, and we're gonna have to run our calibrations. So we got to calibrate the TPS, and it's no one's on the throttle, so you get that calibration, and then you push the throttle all the way down and get current and accept. And that's going to be our throttle position sensor. We go 1 to 100. You'll see it down there. 0 to 100, and we're happy. So now the TPS knows what to do with the computer. It's in sync basically. Now we'll go to Tools again, and we're going to go Calibrate Map. And I have the 3-bar map sensor, so we're just going to go ahead and click Burn, and everybody's happy now. So we'll hit Close. And we got to do our calibrate thermistor tables. Let's calibrate our thermistor tables, why don't we? So 3-point, yep, okay. And we're going to select from the drop down, it's GM. Obviously mine's a GM, so we're going to write that to controller, and it just told the computer, hey, we're using a GM, whatchamacallit. And now we're going to do our air temperature sensor, and it's the same thing. So we'll just select GM and write to controller, and it just did it. So now we're happy there. And then I'm going to go to Tools and calibrate your air fuel ratio. So it has like a drop down menu here, and if your guy's on there, then maybe you can pick it out of the thing and it'll work. I picked the AEM. I'm running an AEM wideband, one of these new dash panel guys right now, and it is that specific one wasn't listed. What I did do is it came with nope, not custom file, I'm sorry, custom linear wideband. So it did come with these calibration points listed in the literature. So I basically typed in what it had listed in the literature, and it was close, but I had to scale this a little bit. So like maybe it said use like 16.8, and I actually ended up at like 16.1 on this number to get my air fuel ratio to match up with what's actually on the gauge. And once you get that done, you'll just write that to controller. So let's look at mine. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here it says 1.0, and it is 9.69, and then it says 4, and it's like 16.8. Uh-oh, I just screwed up something with the computer. Okay, so we'll say whatever, 9, we'll call that 6.9, which is virtually the same anyway. And then this one, like what, 6.9, and this one I had to go to like 16. Let's try 16.3. is what it actually took. I'm just typing this in instead of the other numbers just because I've already kind of been down that road. And write to controller. Okay, and close. So once you've done all that, then you key off the engine and key it back on and start it up. So I'm gonna get out of this, and I don't want to shut down. It already shut down. Too late, dog. Okay, so I want to open Tuner Studio, and I want to open my project that I'm running, and we're connected. Okay, so so I can fire it up right now, and I'll do that, I guess. Okay, and I don't have my fuel pump on. I already turned that off like a jackass. See how loud that is? I gotta get an end tank, man. It's too much. It's too much. And things are just heating up on the dash. So it usually takes like a second, and then like suddenly, yeah, my air fuel ratio will just like come alive. And yeah. So you'll see it's running a little lean right now, but I'm not too terribly concerned about that. So anyway, the point being, when you get to this stage, what Mike said to do was go to your basic fuel settings, go to your engine sequential settings, and tweak this number here. Okay, this is your required fuel, and what that does is it scales the entire fuel table, so that instead of and all the tables that reference that table for its data and decision points. So what that does is this table here, which is your volumetric efficiency table, it changes the weight of what's referenced on there. So let's say, I mean, just like in general, if the number was 100 and you reduce the number by half, then maybe it's given it, 50 instead of 100, so to say. I mean, it's just a completely bullshit way of explaining it, but that's basically what it's doing. Is it's scaling the weight of what these numbers are. These are basically telling your injectors to open and signal pulse for a set time, and changing this will scale that correctly, he said. So basically what I did is I fired it up. We were rich. It was at 5.3 to begin with, and I just kind of scaled it a little bit till I got in like the 13.5s, and I kind of let the engine warm up and kind of be happy. Maybe operating temperature 160, 165-ish, and then I kind of played with it till I was getting like a 14.2-ish or whatever. But after doing that, everything kind of cleared up. Every time I start the car, we're happy again. Once you get it set where you want it to, you just go over to your file and just hit save tune, and it'll just update that tune basically. When you're doing that basic settings adjustment, the only thing you really have to pay attention, you'll change this number here, and then you'll hit burn, and when you hit the burn, that's when it tells it go ahead and send it to your computer. So that is what that's going to do, and I think that's a good starting point. So like, this has me like a pretty, I feel like right now I have enough that I can go out and start driving the car and making manual adjustments in the map now if I need to. And that was the voodoo that Mopar Mike from Facebook showed me. Everything's happy now, so I feel like we can kind of nug through the detail. That's what I needed. I understand the fuel maps, and I understand the scaling and the theories of tuning, and and whatnot. I think most of you probably do. It's just maybe you're like me and kind of get hung up on, you know, why you have to install a driver in a computer that should be computing and shouldn't tell it how to compute or something like that, is like maybe how you might feel. But yeah, do all that and see if that solves your problem, or at least gives you that like 99 percent fix, that 90% on time. One thing I will say is that I suffered too much on my own. I generally tend to think that pain is a good teacher, but I was just inflicting damage at a certain point, and it was and Mike's he was real nice, and it was really simple for him. I mean, he literally did it outside his shop, off the top of his head, over the phone, looking at nothing, and that was pretty impressive. It tells you he's probably done it a few times. So I hope this video helps people and get you that initial kind of MS3 startup deal. I'm no expert, like I keep, you should have that sorted out right now. That I don't know what the heck I'm talking about, but that helped me, and I think I'm gonna have this thing registered next week with the help of one. Oh, look at this beautiful specimen. Look at this. Who doesn't love a new tranny? Oh, she's beautiful. My friend Cameron Powers built this for me, man. It's a 400. So I got a converter on the way from Jake's, and between the converter and the transmission, so then I'm kind of broke right now. So I'm waiting on money. So I need to earn some money. So you guys go to Monkey Fab Garage, man. And I know you need some shit, man. I got some shit, like all the fabrication stuff you need. I got that shit. So go to monkeyfabgarage.com and check it out, man. Like, and they're great prices too. Like, you're not gonna find V-bands at that quality that cheap. It's not gonna happen, man. And the same thing goes for all the other stuff there. So go check that out so I can get a rear end. So I need to put a rear end in this guy. So I'll get the Mustang rear end with the disc brakes on it and the locker, and it's the 28 spline, and I don't even give a fuck because we're not trying to kill ourselves. We're only going for like 600 horsepower, and we'll get the drivetrain in this guy, and not only will we be able to get registered, but we'll be able to do shenanigans. And that's what I'm really interested in, is getting rid of these 195 tires, and I'm sure we can find a fun and interesting way to do that. So anyway, I hope this video helps somebody out. I know it's way too long. All my videos are. I don't know, I like to talk, I'm sorry, but this is Mike with Monkey Fab. Go check out my website, get yourself some GLS fabrication cups, man. They'll make beautiful welds. And this is Mike with Monkey Fab signing out.